Hello, I'm Rob. Welcome to Armor and Scale. Today I'm going to be taking a look at this, the Badger TC910 Airbrush air compressor. I did a lot of research before I bought this air compressor, and I'm confident that this unit provides me with the best value and the best performance. I noticed though while I was watching all these online reviews and reading articles that the version I have is a slightly updated version over what you may have seen previously. The Badger has made some changes in the design, and I'd just like to point out a few of those right now. The air vents on the side here are a little bit larger. I don't really think that makes too much difference because the ends are still open. There's lots of air flowing through this unit, so I don't think it would be prone to overheating anyway. A second important change, the two airbrush holders at the top here are now made for gravity feed airbrushes. It used to be that one was for a gravity feed and the other was for a siphon feed. Now they're both for gravity feed. That's the type that I plan to use, so that will suit my needs better, I think. The third change that you'll see on the outside is that the Badger logo is a little bit larger than it was before. This logo is very important to me because Badger is a well-respected name in the airbrush industry. They've been around for something like 50 years and they are renowned for their service and looking after their customers. If I have any problems with this unit, I'm confident that Badger will be there to back me up. Badger makes no bones about it. They don't manufacture this compressor. It's made for them overseas in Asia, and it tells you right here on the box. It's made in China, quality inspected in the USA. This, by the way, is the box that it comes in. Nothing special, just a plain cardboard box, a couple of pieces of styrofoam. The compressor is packaged inside a plastic bag to protect it. When you pull it out of the box, it's ready to go right away. The only thing you have to do, it's got a 1/4-inch thread here. They provide you with an adapter to convert that over to a 1/8 thread. All you have to do is screw it on, and then the compressor is ready to go. That's what the outside of the unit looks like. Not much to see, and that's the whole idea here. That metal cover keeps all the works hidden away. You don't have to look at an ugly air compressor. You can instead just look at a plain box, which I would prefer anyway. But what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pause at this point, and then I'm going to open up the cover and show you what it looks like on the inside. That's where there are some more significant changes. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back. And here's the air compressor without its cover. I just had to remove 6 Phillips screws, 3 on each side, and then I took the cover off. It is surprisingly heavy. It's a heavy gauge metal that they use in the construction of this compressor. I imagine the cover, more than anything, is just to keep the unit looking clean and nice. It probably does offer some sound deadening, but this is not a very loud compressor anyway. When it's running, you can barely hear it outside of this room. As long as I've got the door closed, no one else in the house knows that I'm running an air compressor. Really nice unit to live with that way. I'm more accustomed to the types of air compressors that are used in construction or for powering pneumatic tools. And this air compressor is nothing like those. It is so remarkably quiet. On the side of the motor here, you can see the air intakes. It just draws the air up through there. There's no air manifold anywhere else on it. Just keeps the design simple and clean. Below it here we have the 3-liter air tank. Not much to say about it other than it seems like a fairly sturdy unit. It only holds 4 bars of air pressure. That's about 60 pounds. So it doesn't need to be a particularly heavy tank. It doesn't need to be made of real heavy gauge steel like an industrial air compressor. It's nothing like that. We see the power cord here. It comes with a 2-meter long cord. More than enough. I just plug it in right here on top of the workbench, so I'd be fine if the cord was even shorter than that, but it'll reach an electrical outlet if you've got it sitting on your workbench for sure. Back here, we start to see some changes in the design as it has evolved. This is the power switch here. It doesn't illuminate or anything like that, just simple on off. In previous generations of this air compressor, the switch was located somewhere up here, and users complained that they had to stick their hand in under the cover to get access to the switch. I guess Badger and their manufacturer were listening, and they've now moved the switch back here where it's a little bit more convenient. The power cord too, it now exits from the back of the motor. It used to come out the side here somewhere, and I don't think that makes any difference. It's just a change that they've made, and I wanted to point it out. Here is the most significant change. This is the air pipe that leads from the motor to the tank, and now they have this manifold here that includes the pressure release valve and the pressure sensor switch. This switch will kick in when the air pressure in the tank drops to only 3 bars of pressure. That would be, for people that measure in pounds, about 43 pounds of air pressure. And it shuts the motor off once it gets up to 4 bars, which is about 60 pounds of pressure. Having the tank is the most important aspect of this air compressor, because what it means is, if you didn't have the tank, you'd have the motor running constantly. Every time you press the trigger on your airbrush, the motor would kick in. As long as you were painting, the motor would have to be running. Now, because it's got this tank, the motor charges the tank up to 4 bars of pressure, and you can go ahead and airbrush without the motor necessarily being on. It only kicks in once the pressure drops down to 3 bars. So that means that the motor might be running for 15 or 20 seconds while you can go ahead and paint for a minute or 2 minutes or however long, depending on the amount of airflow that's going through your brush. It just makes it less annoying, a little quieter, better, easier to live with. Let me point out a change that Badger has made in the design. People used to complain that this rattled while the machine was in operation, while the motor was running. Badger has now put a cover over top of the pressure relief valve, and just means that this doesn't rattle as much as it apparently used to. There are probably a lot of ways you can solve this. You could probably remove the ring altogether. You could do a number of things, I'm sure. But it just shows that Badger was listening to feedback from their users, and they've done something about it. Here at the front of the unit, we see the pressure regulator. How that works is you just pull up on the dial here, and then you adjust your pressure accordingly. And once you have it set, you just lock it back down. There's a moisture trap here. It's made out of glass, and there's a release here on the bottom so that if moisture does build up, you can just drain it off. With an air tank, you don't get as much moisture traveling to your airbrush anyway. What happens is the air is heated up as it goes through the motor, but once it gets into the tank here, the air cools down again. We're not talking about very high temperatures here anyway, but the air cools down, and any moisture that is going to be released from the air stays within the tank. There's probably only a very minute amount that will ever make it up to the moisture trap here. This is what I was talking about in terms of when you get the compressor out of the package. This is the only assembly that's required. This is the 1/4 inch MPT threaded fitting here. That's probably a little bit too large for most airbrush hoses. So they provide you with a 1/8 inch NPT fitting, And all you have to do before you start using the compressor is screw that fitting onto here to adapt it down to a 1/8 inch hose, which is pretty much the standard for airbrushes. Let me now point out the one thing that I don't like about this Badger compressor, and that's this gauge here. This gauge runs all the way up to 7 bars of pressure, or 100 pounds. That's just too high of a range for an air compressor that operates more in the 4-bar range. It makes it more difficult to really dial in an accurate amount of pressure for your airbrush. So what I've done is I've gone and ordered a 4-bar gauge, or a 60-pound gauge, that I'll end up replacing this unit with. I mean, this works just fine. It's just, if you're someone like me who really likes to accurately dial in the amount of pressure that's going to your airbrush, this gauge gives too gross of a reading. It's not accurate enough. So I'm planning on replacing mine. That's basically about it for the outside, or for the inside of the cover, for the inner workings of the compressor. It is a really nice unit. I'm impressed with how well it's made. Quality materials. There's a little bit of plastic like here and here, but it's high quality all the way. Everything, it's beautifully made. I only paid about $200 for this compressor. Normally they sell for about $400, but I bought mine at Michael's, and they're famous for their 50% off coupons. I used one of those and I got it for only $200. But even if I had paid a full $400, the regular asking price for this, I would have considered it a great value. Similar air compressors from Iwata, for example, they sell locally here for about $700, and I just couldn't justify paying that much for an air compressor. That would be as much as 2 airbrushes, 2 high-quality premium airbrushes. $200 is more the price point that I was comfortable paying, and I'm really glad I got this compressor for that amount. Just before I close, let me just show you here too that there's a drain valve right on the bottom of the tank that's accessible from the bottom of the air compressor, and periodically you just have to open this up and drain off any moisture that may accumulate in there. Another thing to show you here on the bottom are these rubber feet. Before I got the compressor, I was thinking of all kinds of ways I might isolate the compressor from my workbench or from the floor to prevent vibrations from filtering through into my workspace, but really this doesn't make much noise. There is no vibration, and these rubber feet, if what little vibration there may be, it gets soaked up by them. So makes it very easy to live with this compressor. Very quiet, very, very impressive unit. That's about all I have to say about it. Really pleased with the compressor. I think it was a great value. I'm really pleased that it's a Badger product, because I know that if I have any problems at all with it, I have someone to turn to that will be in business for years to come, I'm sure, and they'll be there to back their product if I have any problems at all. It's just been a delight, and I recommend this unit highly. I'm gonna wrap it up now, and just by saying that I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please be sure to click like, subscribe to my channel. I plan to have a lot more content coming in the near future. I really enjoy doing reviews like this, technical reviews. I'm going to do some kit reviews in the weeks to come. Please stay tuned. I'm really glad that you watched this video. I always love to hear from my viewers. If you have any comments, please leave them below. And yeah, that's about it for now. Just let me sign off at this point. Wish you guys a good day. Thanks for watching.